Hi, so for this video I watched every Oscar winner movie from the year 2000 to the year 2009, and I'm going to be ranking them from 10 to 1, obviously 10 being the worst and 1 the best. So the 72nd Academy Awards, or the Oscars, from the year 2000, the movie that won Best Picture was American Beauty. Something curious that happened in the 2000 Oscar Awards was that Angelina Jolie kissed in the mouth her biological brother for no reason, apparently.
I'm in shock. And I'm so in love with my brother right now.
So basically this movie is about this dude who is bored with his life, is bored with his wife, is bored with his job, is bored with everything. He has a daughter and they live in the suburbs. I don't know how we went from being bored with his life to him developing a crush on a high schooler, more specifically a friend of his daughter. I don't know how that happened, but it happened, right? So that's basically the plot. This man having a crush on a high schooler. So yeah, a few things that I noticed about the movie. First, we have Seneca Crane in that movie when he was younger. The other thing is that I remember listening to this song on Madagascar. And then I realized that Madagascar did a reference to this movie. I thought it was the other way around. I was like, oh my god, these people stole this song from Madagascar. Girl, no. Madagascar made a reference to American Beauty. Anyway, in conclusion, this man is a weirdo. Remember, 1 being the best, 10 the worst. I'm going to place this movie at number 8. I'm sorry, it's just, I think it was aesthetically pleasing, but I wasn't as invested in this movie as I was in some of the other movies that I will be talking about later. Boom! Let's move to the 2001 Oscar Awards. So something that happened on this Oscars ceremony was that Bjork wore this iconic white swan dress to the red carpet. And not only did she wear that dress, but she laid an egg on the red carpet, okay? Like, talk about diva, talk about mother, talk about icon. So the movie that won Best Picture in the 2001 Oscars was Gladiator. I remember watching this movie for the first time when I was a kid, and I remember being so scared of Joaquin Phoenix. You know how everybody knows Joaquin Phoenix now because he's the Joker? Like, no girl, before he was the Joker, he was... and he was so scary. But that being said, he was the best dressed in every scene. Something I want to say about the plot of this movie. I don't want to take sides, but I will be mad too if my dad told me that, oh, you won't be the next Caesar. I'm going to name somebody else. I'm gonna name this soldier Maximus Prime, whatever his name is. Like, girl, I will be mad too. Something that caught me off guard about this movie is that the gladiator, Maximus Prime, he is Spaniard. I thought all of them were Italians from Rome. So yeah, after watching this movie, I realized that I know nothing about the Roman Empire. I'm not one of the guys of today's era that thinks about the Roman Empire every day.
How often do you think about the Roman Empire?
I thought about it yesterday. I thought about it today. If I was to stay on average, like half of the days.
Something else that I was thinking after rewatching this movie was, I might be wrong, but I believe that this movie was so big back in the day that because of this movie, they made that Pepsi commercial. So yeah, mama, this movie had a big impact. Anyway, let's rank it. I'm going to place Gladiator at number 3. Okay, so the 2002 Oscars ceremony. So that year was when Halle Berry and Denzel Washington both won the Oscar for lead actor and lead actress. And that was the first time where both awards went to black performers. So Halle Berry and Denzel Washington that night, they both made history. So okay, the movie that won Best Picture in the 2002 Oscars was A Beautiful Mind. Something that shocked me when I first started watching A Beautiful Mind was when I noticed that Russell Crowe was going to be the main lead of the movie. Girl, watching him go from Gladiator to this movie, A Beautiful Mind, where he plays a Harvard professor who is a little bit unstable in the head. Like, ain't no way this is the same man that last year played Gladiator. Something I want to say about this movie, if you're planning to watch this movie, after 1 hour of you watching the movie is where you start to realize, oh, this is actually what's happening, and things start to make sense. That being said though, let's rank it. This movie is a little bit slow paced for my taste. I'm going to place it at number 9. Next, let's talk about the 2003 Oscars ceremony. So on this Oscars was where Adrian Brody smooshed Halle Berry. The movie that won Best Picture on the 2003 Oscars was Chicago. Something I want to say is that Catherine Zeta-Jones really ate that first number up. And her face card, lethal, mama. The bob is fire.
Excuse me, ma'am. Your bob is fat.
Something that I like about the movie is that it goes back and forth from like being a movie, and then it kind of transforms into being a theater, and then it goes back to being a movie, and then it goes back to being a theater. If you have watched the movie, you know what I mean. The plot is nice, this and that, but ranking it, I'm going to be very honest, this is number 10 for me. I know the theater kids are going to kill me, but I am not a musical girly. I like some musicals, but is it my cup of tea? No. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. So for the 2004 Oscar ceremony, the movie that won Best Picture was Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. Something that I want to say about this Oscar ceremony was that Lord of the Rings was nominated in 11 categories, and they won all of the 11 categories, girl. Talk about iconic. I have watched the Lord of the Rings movies, and I know that they are long, but I just rewatched this one for the sake of this video, and I had forgotten how long it was. Girl, 4.5 hours is insane work. Insane, because I truly believe that movies should be from 1 hour to an hour and a half length. Something I say is that, oh, if you're going to make a movie that is like longer than 2 hours, just make a mini series or make a TV show. And I know that back in 2004 and the early 2000s, making TV shows wasn't a thing, but something I want to say is that, you know how Hollywood right now is like remaking every movie ever? In my opinion, they should remake Lord of the Rings, but make it a show, because I feel like a lot of the storylines and a lot of the characters, maybe, I don't know, because I haven't read the books, but it felt like maybe they were cut short because they didn't want to make the movie too long. I mean, it's still very long, it's 4 hours and a half, but maybe they didn't want to make a 10-hour movie, which I understand. But maybe if they make a TV show now with an hour-long episodes, they can make like, I don't know, at least a 4-season show of Lord of the Rings, which I will watch. But anyway, let's talk about the movie. After you watch this movie and you have watched the previous 2 movies, you can really tell that this movie is the most epic out of all the movies. I love Lord of the Rings because I have a cat that I named Gandalf. Hold on, let me show him to you. Say hello. He's camera shy, I'm sorry. I named him Gandalf, obviously, because of Lord of the Rings. Now, you might say, oh my god, you must be a super fan. I'm really not. Like I said, I haven't read the books, I have watched the movies, obviously, but it's not like I'm the biggest Lord of the Rings fan. It's just that when I watched the first movie and I saw that this character was named Gandalf and he's a wizard, which I love wizards. And he had like this pipe and he was smoking and he was like just so cool, and he was named Gandalf the Grey. I was like, damn, that's actually a very cool name. And then mama, when he said, "You shall not pass," you shall not pass, I was eating that up. So then when I got my cat, I named my cat Gandalf. Every time I watch this scene, I find it funny because it's like Legolas doesn't know gravity. He did it in the second movie, and then he did it in this movie when he surfed down the elephant. I remember he did something similar in the Hobbit's movies. Ranking the Lord of the Rings movie, for me, I'm going to place it at number 4. So in the 2005 Oscars Awards, the iconic Edna Mode presented the nominees for Best Costume Design. Now, in this household, we love Edna Mode, okay? The movie that won Best Picture in the 2005 Oscars was Million Dollar Baby. When the movie is starting, you notice that the movie takes place in the South, in Texas specifically. There's some things that you might expect, like the Southern accent, this and that. Something that I was not expecting was one of the characters to drop the N-word with the hard R twice before the 10-minute mark of the movie. So this movie is pretty much about this woman who wants to become a boxer. And the problem is that she wants to get trained by this guy, but this guy doesn't want to train her for two reasons. First, she's a woman, and second, she is 31 or 32 years old. So he's like, no, you're a girl and you're too old for this. The movie took a very sad twist, which I was not expecting, girl. It really shocked me. I'm gonna rank it at number 6. So in the 2006 Oscars ceremony, the movie that won Best Picture was the movie Crash. I was doing some research and apparently it seemed like everybody was upset when Crash won for Best Picture because everybody thought that Brokeback Mountain was going to win for Best Picture. So much that the director of the movie Crash himself said that he was a little surprised that they won Best Picture that year. In this movie, before the 10-minute mark, we see a lot of racism going on, but this movie is actually about racism. I saw that Terrence Howard is in this movie. Like, girl, Terrence Howard, the man that invented math.
How is 1 × 1 = 1 part of the multiplication table?
Something that I like about this movie is that you get different point of views from different characters, and sometimes those characters interconnect. So you see how this character is in some way related to the story of this character, and then this other character relates to this other character, and that's something that I found very interesting that this movie made, and they made it well. Another thing that I found out about this movie was that this movie apparently came out on 2004, so I was wondering why it wasn't nominated for the 2005 Oscars and it was nominated for the 2006 Oscars. So what I found out is that the movie premiered in the Toronto Film Festival back in 2004, but it then was released on theaters on 2005. So that's why they nominated the movie for the 2006 Oscars. So now let's rank this movie. I'm going to place it at number 5. So the 2007 Oscars was when we had this diva, Miranda Presley, made a brief appearance on the show. So the movie that won the 2007 Oscar for Best Picture was The Departed. Now this movie is very interesting because you have a cop who is not really a cop, like he's like a criminal, and then you have a criminal who is really a cop, like he's undercover. So you follow both of their POVs, like how does this cop behaves when he's really a criminal but he's pretending to be a cop, and how does this cop who is an undercover behaves in the world of criminals, right? And again, this movie throws the N-word with the hard R under the 2-minute mark. So then I started thinking like, maybe the requirements for winning an Oscar back in 2005, 2006, and 2007 was to just say slurs. Something I noticed about this movie, yes, it is very interesting, the plot, this and that, whatever, but it's so filled with testosterone. Like, it's almost like you can smell it through the screen. Okay, so let's rank The Departed. I'm going to place it at number 7. Okay, so now let's talk about the 2008 Oscars ceremony. So it seems like the 2008 Oscars was a win for the French. Because we had Ratatouille winning for Best Animated Feature, and then we had Marion Cotillard. She won for Best Leading Actress for her performance as Edith Piaf. The movie that won Best Picture in the 2008 Oscars was No Country for Old Men. Now, I had never watched this movie. This was my first time watching this movie, and girl, first of all, Javier Bardem, your Bob is fire. Every time I see a character with a bob,
What's your name, POV, so they calling you Bob?
I know they're going to serve. And as soon as I saw his character, I was like, okay, yeah, he is him. He is him. If you thought Aang was the last airbender, you're wrong. This man is the last airbender, okay? Because he goes around town with his little oxygen tank, shoot people and shoot locks. I could not believe it. I don't know. I know it's not funny because in the movie he's actually a scary character, but he looks so funny with his bob and his little oxygen tank. Hello. Something I want to say about the plot of this movie, it goes straight to business. There's no intro, there's no getting to know the character. Baby, there's nothing like that. It just goes straight to business, and I appreciate that because sometimes intros for movies get so long and boring. No Country for Old Men, I'm going to place it at number 2. So the 2009 Oscars was when Heath Ledger won his Oscar for his performance as the Joker. He's the youngest actor to receive an Oscar after his death. The movie that won Best Picture for the 2009 Oscars was Slumdog Millionaire. Girl, I remember watching this movie when it came out and it made such an impact on me. And let me tell you why. There's a scene where the main character of the movie, he needs to get out of the restroom. So he gets out by jumping in the pool of underneath him. Girl, it's just, that scene is just so powerful because I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that that boy was so eager to go and meet that other dude that he was like, yeah, I'm going to jump into the pool of And something else that I remember, and I know this video is supposed to be about the Oscars, but I want to take a quick turn and talk about the MTV 2009 Movie Awards. I remember vividly, for the 2009 MTV Movie Awards, the host was Andy Samberg. And at the beginning of the show, he did like a skit, including every movie that was very popular the year before. And amongst those movies was Twilight and Slumdog Millionaire. And he made a skit where at the beginning, he was the kid that had to jump in the pool of and then he jumps to the Twilight universe and he meets Edward. And I'm trying to find the original video and I couldn't find it.
I'm really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish. But Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time.
Girl, this 2009 MTV Movie Awards were wild. Anyway, let's go back to the movie. Every time I see Dev Patel on a movie, I remember like, oh yeah, he's the one from Slumdog Millionaire. Also, this movie is one of those movies that make you realize that maybe you don't have it that bad. You know how sometimes we find ourselves like complaining a lot about our lives, like, oh, I don't have this, I don't have that. And then when you watch this movie and you watch the story of all they had to go through to get to where he is now, you're like, yeah, maybe I don't have it that bad. I placed Slumdog Millionaire at my number 1. And remember, if you like this video, you can like it and subscribe to my channel. And thank you for watching, okay? I'll see you when I see ya. Bye!